Will this rug pull continue? We're going to get into a lot and show you guys how we were able to find out if there was weakness in this move. There was something very tricky early on in the morning that we're going to mention early on in this video. We're going to talk about it right after this little intro here, but today we are going to get into some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta, looking at AMC and GME as well. AMC very close to doing something huge today. We're going to pay attention to that, but how did we overall see that this rug pull was coming? I did put in some positions at these highs here that are proven to be pretty good. You guys might have even seen me mention live that I was taking a volatility play very early on in the day during that live video. So do join us for those live videos, and if you want to learn this stuff, it's 90% off for the current courses. That's right. If you want to learn how to trade with these indicators, using these weekly moves, using these daily moves, take that course down in the description. Both of the courses down there are 90% off until the end of August, until my birthday. Okay, this is my birthday month. So we got about 20 days until my birthday, and I'm really excited. But let's tell you guys what was kind of hinting to us here that we could see some kind of rug pull, and it was the dollar again. Weirdly enough, it was the dollar again, and we're going to talk about that real quick, because the dollar, as you can see, overnight, Thursday, we see this early this morning, we see this rapid move up with the dollar, which means at this point right here, at this point, the dollar was up and the market was up, hinting that there was a little bit of insider selling, and that gave us a little hint. Then we just took a peek over at volatility and noticed that that 30-minute was making that higher low, while at the same time the PCC was actually hitting a downward level. So all of these things added up at the same time to say, hey, there's high potential for a drop here, and ooh, that was a doozy. So let's go back over into the SPY and talk about this for a second, because this is a dramatic drop. Now, I don't want to get overzealous with this. This is kind of a dramatic drop here, but we haven't crossed over on this 2-hour MACD. So if we're going to go make that sturdier base, okay, tomorrow we could look for that daily expected move. Maybe we curl down for a couple bars here, or even going on in the rest of the day, and then we see some kind of blip up. Remember, this is your daily expected move for tomorrow. So the downside, if you want to pay attention to that as the market is coming down a little bit in the post market, 535.88 to the downside, and then we do have 550.14 to the upside. So we haven't touched one of these ranges yet. Sorry, I have the hiccups, but we haven't touched one of these ranges yet, which is kind of interesting. As of right now, negative territory. If that turns down, ooh, this could get even worse. If we don't make a divergence, that could get even worse. And just to zoom out real quick so we can do this on the SPY before we get into the shorter time frames, boom, we got monthly expected moves for you. That's right, monthly expected moves going to be posted to Patreon in just a little bit. 573.79 to the upside. Very big range here, actually, a little bit bigger than last month. 527.83 to the downside. And you see how if we would curl down, we could head down towards that area very early on, right when everyone is convinced that this is going down. We can pay attention if we're seeing that rigged behavior in the dollar, the PCC, and the volatility, all giving those signals as they did today. So we're paying attention to that. But if we did head down to those levels, we will pay attention to that for you and see if we can curl up, because that would make a solid divergence down here that could send us into a positive trend. Now, this is behaving a lot like a bear market. Not necessarily initially in a bear market too, you'll see these drops, but you'll see a bigger one that really sends you down. I don't believe we've really seen that just yet. You know, every once in a while you'll see like a 3% or a 4% down day that really starts that major downside potential, starting that downward price action. We haven't really seen that, but that 2-hour curls down, hey, bad things, okay? That's how we're going to take it for today. 2-hour turns down, bad things. 30-minute curls up, good things, okay? So if this 30-minute was to curl up early on in the day, we could see a move all the way up towards 550.14. That is your daily expected move, and this is an area I would pay attention to. We get data in the morning, we have earnings and everything like that, so it's going to be another wild day. We have to watch these stocks very closely. We have broken down pretty low here to the point where we can start drawing stuff, right? If I started to just take this level here, I line it up, I go, where did we react to? Okay, so there is structure here to head lower. It's like if this 30-minute isn't able to fully go positive, really cross up through this and see something crazy, we could make a move towards that daily expected move, see that start to fade next week, and then we would have a grabbing of liquidity here, maybe even a grabbing of liquidity at these the lows of these bars here at that daily expected move, seeing that left head, maybe even a right shoulder, could be elongated. We'll find out. But for now, you just want to say 30-minute curls up, great. But right now it is turning down. It is still negative in negative territory. So the most likely thing, according to this MACD right here for now, is that we are curling down into negative territory, meaning we're starting that negative trend again. So pay attention to that. You need this 30-minute to cross up to really see that positivity. We'll pay attention to into the dollar in the morning to see if we can get a hint. As we look forward into the Qs, we see a similar thing, right? We see a very similar thing. We see the 30-minute looking like, hey, if that thing curls up, yes, we can start to recover. This is a slightly higher low, so we'll pay attention to that, not necessarily seeing the same structure that we saw on the SPY. So this is still close enough to positive territory. If we get some good unemployment data, good non-farm payrolls, we could send it higher, but watch out for that 467.68 to the upside. If we do want to turn down, well, that's when you'd really be looking at this 2-hour, because that 2-hour looks like it's about to cross. If that crosses, that means the negative trend is going to continue, and you're most likely going lower than the previous low as you're right next to it, maybe heading down towards 451.64 or a weekly expected move. And we do have those monthly expected moves for you. Make sure to get them on your chart. We do have 499.43 to the upside and 442.71 to the downside. So the potential here is we could cross down like this, and right when everyone thinks that everyone piles in on the shorts and things like that, we buy a bunch of puts, and then the dollar actually shows that there's some insider buying, and we react this way. We see some kind of divergence in this area. A 2-hour divergence, if we get a solid one, we can turn around those daily charts. We'll pay attention to that going into tomorrow, but pretty much as we go into tomorrow, it's going to be 30-minute curls up, good. 2-hour curls down, bad, until we see a reversal signal. As we go over to Apple, paying attention to similar things, right? Apple was seeing a reaction up. We got that earning, so we'll have to see what the reaction is as of tomorrow morning. We'll pay attention to that. Looks like kind of flattish as of right now, a little bit up, right? A little bit up, about 1% actually. I shouldn't say flattish, it's up 1%. But is that going to really be able to break down, curl over on that 2-hour and see a downward move? Or are we just going to do that simple curl up of the 30-minute? I know it's kind of a day where we're seeing a lot of similar signals, at least in these bigger stocks like Apple that hold a heavy weight, but it looks very similar to the Qs, very similar to the SPY. 30-minute curls up, great. The 2-hour curls down, bad. Okay, so we are giving out on Patreon the daily expected moves for these individual stocks that we are covering today, and a few others like Microsoft, Google, and a Palantir. So we're going to cover all of those, and that will include Apple as it has earnings. That is a very good thing to have. But 30-minute curl up, good. 2-hour curl down, bad. All right. For Tesla, we're seeing this just a tiny bit deeper into negative territory. We actually did come down to this level, so we could see that reaction, and watch out if we start to turn back down. Okay, so we really want to pay attention to this MACD. Is it seeing that strength and really curling up, maybe even daily charts at this point? But if we start to do that, that's not going to be a good look, and we can fade. But 30-minute curls up, you got a chance for some kind of recovery. If the 2-hour is going to turn down, which it already has right now, Tesla is telling you, hey, our most likely scenario, which we actually mentioned live up in this area, there is a 30-minute divergence at the top. Your weekly range is at the top. So that tells you 2-hour has a good shot to curl down. That did happen. So the probabilities here did play out, and now we're seeing that 2-hour curl down. So if we're able to, we do have divergence here at this point if that wants to turn around. But if we need to go a little bit deeper, maybe we end up in that zone we've been talking about towards 210, towards 209. We'll pay attention to that going into tomorrow. If you come down like this, you would see the downward price action, and your momentum might show you that upward signal, and you might see that on the RSI at the same time. So these are things that we are paying attention to going into tomorrow. Make sure you are subscribed so that you can join us live tomorrow morning while we watch these stocks. And you can ask me about any stocks. I don't just cover only these stocks that we talk about today. I will look at pretty much any stock that you give me. So Amazon, looking forward at this, we just see the similar thing here. 2-hour looks like, hey, it's giving up a lot of the moving averages. Pretty much it's giving up all of them on the 2-hour. So if that's going to curl down, that would not be the best thing in the world, right? We're getting that rejection divergence on the 2-hour, which is saying there could be some positivity here. Did that roll up the daily chart? No, it hasn't. So no real confirmation of that. So we still have to be cautious as we go into a 30-minute. Looks like 2-hour curls down, bad. And if the 30-minute can curl up, good. So let's zoom out for a second and see where this thing's at. Bad, right? It is way down here at 170.11, and we'll have that daily expected move for you for Amazon tomorrow morning. But it looks like here you never got the reason to take the upside play. Remember, earnings is always a 50-50 flip. There really isn't any other way to put it besides, hey, it is black or red if you're trading around earnings, because you have no idea what those numbers are. You have no idea what they are going to say. And look at this, it was green number, right? It says green, so it missed on one, but they could have said something bad in the call, and that could be overall why it goes down. That happens all the time. This is why, for the most part, I stay away from earnings. Going into Nvidia, this thing really dropping off out of our sell zone, right? The sell zone here, we said it really needs to hold up in this area right here, grab that liquidity. Looks like it just flushed from there, headed lower. So if this can confirm this as a higher low, that would be awesome. Seeing this 30-minute curl up, awesome. We're back in business. Maybe this is able to build up over time and head towards 123 or 125 and see that curl down for some kind of elongated head and shoulders here on the 30-minute. So that's something I'd be paying attention to, see if that 30-minute can curl up. Positivity, I know it's kind of a broken record, but that is overall what we see in front of us. 30 minutes curl up, good things. 2 hours curl down, bad. And you see that again here from Nvidia, seeing the 2 hour just about to cross. So we'll see if that's able to come down. But is that going to be brief? And then we see that turn right back around. So we'll be paying attention to the dollar in here in case there is some kind of turnaround by the end of the day, seeing some kind of insider buying. We will watch that with you live tomorrow morning. And tomorrow we are doing a closing stream, so we're gonna have 2 streams tomorrow as well to end the week out. AMD, we're looking at this one. This thing was bad, okay? This thing was really bad, down 8.2, closing down 8.26%. Very interesting, as that initial good news was very good. It seemed like it was even better for Nvidia, which is interesting. But what do you notice that's a little bit different from this one than the others? Well, one, it broke through a little bit of trend line here, and it was able to curl down. So as of right now, you're seeing that downward price action. That is telling you, hey, this thing could head all the way down towards like 123, 124. If that wants to turn around, though, you actually would have that point of divergence as of now. But judging by what this MACD looks like at this moment, this would tell me, hey, the most potential thing for tomorrow is downside to start the morning until I see some price action that can turn it back up, telling me that this tapering is going to lead to a bounce, which it very well can. So I'm going to be paying attention to this. This could be them trying to trick people into taking a lot of puts on AMD, and then it just curls up and we see a big move. So we'll pay attention to that going into tomorrow. We'll pay attention to the unemployment data as well. The 30-minute for AMD, just to talk about this for a brief moment here, look how that is deeper than the others. So it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a little bit more than the others to go positive. It doesn't mean it's not possible. You do have another point of divergence on the RSI between these lows. You don't necessarily have it on the MACD down here anymore, but you do have multiple point, right? So we can take that into consideration. If we zoom out on this RSI, you are going to see, hey, this is pretty upward here on the MACD or on the RSI, and that means the momentum could be dying out. Now, this hasn't proven yet. You need that 30-minute to bounce back up, and you just broke through a key zone. So if this curls up, curls back down at any time, I would be very cautious with the next move down for AMD if that happens. If we don't see a recovery in the next couple of days from a lot of stocks, we can see this thing get dramatic. We'll talk about that when we get to volatility. For Meta, solid earnings, all right, solid bounce with the earnings. No, I did not play this. I'm not playing earnings as of right now because I want to stay away from that risk. I've had a good week and I don't want to risk losing any of that with some kind of earnings play where they say one bad thing but produce good numbers and then the stock goes down. I don't want to do that, but seeing that move upward, that is fantastic. Never curled down on this MACD down here. That's great. But as of right now, this would be this is what I say a lot of the times with earnings. When you see that big pop, don't try to chase because that thing is already overbought. You really want to see this base out, kind of come down, pull back, and then curl back up to confirm another move higher. So as of right now, I would like that to get closer to the center line, but pretty much if that 30-minute can just nick up for a second, you have a chance to see something good. We'll pay attention to this going into tomorrow. The 2 hour was able to go positive for Meta, and I think that's a very, very big deal, but maybe it needs to kind of reload, go back into some liquidity to grab some buyers, and then head to the upside. We'll pay attention to that as it is slightly overbought on this RSI. Now we just want to zoom out to the daily scale because the daily scale is about to curl up. So if you are able to see some strength tomorrow, we don't see some kind of flush, some bad unemployment data, and we get some good reactions with these earnings, you are still closing above all of the moving averages and you have this MACD about to cross. When that MACD crosses, what do you see over time? Ooh, we can see positivity, okay? So if that does curl up, look out for that positivity, but if it starts to come down again, well, we might have just grabbed liquidity in here, we might have just grabbed liquidity in here to flush it to the downside. So watch for rejection tomorrow and watch for a crossing up tomorrow. We'll pay attention to that for you. Make sure to mention it on the live video. AMC almost did something fantastic today again, and weirdly enough, this is going to be a big signal when this does happen. Okay, you notice that we're not able to get above that 200. Even in this big pop over here, we weren't able to close above the 200, right? We flushed that. So they do not want that momentum to take over right now. We are seeing a downward move. which makes sense, right? Based on the shorter time frames for AMC, it made total sense. We saw the 30-minute. We can see down here that there was divergence on the 30-minute. That crossed over, and that tells you, hey, the 2-hour has a good shot to cross. That played out. Let's see if that 2-hour cross. It did. Okay, so we are, as of right now, in, I would say, a 2-hour pullback. I don't want to get overdrawn. I don't want to oversay anything here because overall, this is a solid move, and you are positive, so you do have a chance to dip down into negative territory and turn back around, right? But if this is going to be a fight for a Friday, you could see this flush down all the way below $5. We could see this test this low, maybe even go make a new one, maybe test 437 as this thing dips down to go gain some buyers. We'll find out, see if there's a divergence, if that's a little bit deeper. But as of right now, as it is positive, we would talk about, hey, if that is able to curl up at any time for the 2-hour, that would be a good sign. We're going to pay attention to that 30-minute to see if there's any reversal signals in here for AMC, but this is not a very good look if you want to see something crazy. If that flips right around, things can change, but for now, that's what we see. Now for GameStop, we actually gave you guys on GameStop the weekly expected move. We're starting to break below that. So there's a big fight going on with GameStop at this moment, and we can notice that that 2-hour is really struggling to turn up here. So even if this 2-hour does turn up, you're still pretty far away from that center line, so you can curl down, kind of create that stronger base over time, and then that's when I'd more talk about reversal. But if that curls up, you always got a chance to go positive. It's just pretty deep, so watch out for a lower high there. But can this 2-hour see a pop? Well, the 30-minute is telling you, hey, I have potential, right? This thing is saying, I have potential, because you do have a flat divergence on the MACD, and you have an upward divergence on the RSI down here. If you just look down there, you can see how that angle is slightly up between these lows. And we even gave you the weekly expected move downside for that to show you how it's right by that weekly expected move. So 2174 is the level where we started to gravitate towards, and notice that we consolidate at it. So when you do consolidate at this before Friday, you can see something crazy to the downside. So I'd be really waiting and being patient, seeing if that can curl up on this MACD to tell you like, hey, momentum is seeing a good move. And then we can start to make structure over time to head higher. You can see how we would grab liquidity in here, make another move higher, grab liquidity in here, make another move higher. So just being patient with something like this is a good thing. The dailies still are not able to curl up for either one of these. They are starting to go negative. So this is a downward move, and we'll have to see what happens with this going on throughout the next couple of weeks, because originally these Bollinger Bands were really tight, right? They're pretty tight in here, and then boom, that's getting distributed to the downside. So if you don't see that snap back, sometimes you do snap back and actually spread out the other way. Well, we could already be deciding to head down from here, maybe before earnings. So let's just pay attention, be on your toes, trade like water. Okay, let's go talk about, actually we can take a look at Palantir. I didn't look at this too much, but for the most part, what we were talking about on Palantir was the fact that there was a ton of 2-hour divergence here. Tons of 2-hour divergences all across this. You notice the most important point is when you're rejecting and right by negative territory, sends us negative, right? So this little bar right here means a lot. We gap down, see that downward price action, consolidate. As of right now, you're consolidating sideways. We got to see if that 2-hour can turn up and go positive. We do have earnings and things like that, so take in mind that it's a 50-50 flip. Just means a lot of the time you need to downsize that position. That's something that I like to do if I feel like I have to take a play during earnings. I'm just going to downsize that position. If you want to look at my previous YouTube video, like the YouTube video I posted 2 days ago, we talked about how I treat earnings. I think it is a very helpful video. Some people showing up live and saying, yeah, that's a very good take. So I like that. The 30-minute though, I just wanted to point this out because you do have technically a divergence down here. So for Palantir, you do have a divergence down here at these two lows. You see it slightly up, even just a little bit flat, but slightly up here for the MACD, and you see it is slightly up down there on the RSI, just a slight up move. So if that 30-minute crosses up, you got the chance to break this little area here that we're in to the upside, but that is really starting to look like we could just see the 2-hour keep going down in this area. It looks like we're due for a bounce, but we didn't really get too oversold. So just pay attention. There's kind of a way up and a way down for a lot of stocks, so you just got to be on your toes and trading like water. Now, I wanted to talk about volatility because this is one signal that I was paying attention to today, which was the 30-minute. Okay, the 30-minute giving us the higher low while the dollar was higher, while the SPY was higher at the same time, kind of told me, hey, volatility is about to come in. So this is the play I did take. and we see that rapid upside, and that was a very good trade at this moment. If we could see a bounce in the market, this might back off and then create another higher low in this area for volatility on the 30-minute. Now, if we zoom out, if we really look at like a 4-hour or something like that, it is starting to create divergences here. So if this was all some kind of fake out and we're just going to see a bullish move on Friday going into next week or something like that, hey, look for this 4-hour if that can cross. It's still close enough that it might be able to cross tomorrow with a couple of red bars, and that's something to pay attention to, because we could see an explosive move throughout next week if we start to confirm some squeeze signals. The first confirmation of the squeeze, the short squeeze signal, if people start to get overzealous to the downside, is going to be that turning down on the MACD. The second one will be if that's going to continue, it's going to break down through that 200. We might react all the way down to 1212 and see some kind of squeeze. So we'll pay attention to that. But for the most part, you just got to say, we're seeing another strong closing bar above the 200, getting closer to 20. So once you get above 20, it starts to get a little rough. So we'll see if there's some kind of wick or some kind of move like this one in the past. If we see a drop in the market, maybe that 2-hour divergence setting up in the market. But this is something to pay attention to going into tomorrow. Volatility is high. Keep expecting these bigger swings. All right, guys, that's pretty much the take for today. It looks like a time where we could see an up move, we could see a down move. So it's important we pay attention to these things in the live video tomorrow. Pay attention to the dollar and PCC and see what is coming up. Are we going to see some kind of rigged move that causes this to be some kind of bear trap, or are we going to see this as more of actual downward distribution? We'll pay attention to that for you. A lot of it, I think, leans on earnings, and I think a lot of it leans on unemployment. So let's react to that data. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great night. On Patreon, look out for some posts there, as we're going to be distributing out the monthly expected moves and the daily expected moves for tomorrow. So pay attention. Make sure to check up on your Patreon if you're a member, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning for our live show. We're having 2 of them, right? So get excited. We're having a closing live show as well. So I'll talk to you guys later. Good luck with your trades tomorrow. Peace.